Hi, this is Ricky with HydroFlyNE New England. Thanks for choosing us for your flying experience. We're stoked that you're flying with us today and can't wait to get you in the air. If you have any questions before or during your flight, please don't hesitate to ask your instructor. If you're in the middle of a flight, you can always stop if you have a question, or before you get strapped up, that's the time to ask. First things first, we're gonna go over some safety procedures, and then we'll demonstrate some techniques so that you can fly safely. The two most important pieces of safety equipment that you need to have on before you get anywhere near the water is a helmet and a life vest. Both of these pieces of safety equipment will be provided to you by HydroFlyNE New England prior to your flight. Under normal circumstances, we use Bluetooth communication devices embedded in the rider's helmet to communicate between the rider and the instructor on the ski. In the event that we don't have this equipment with us, or there's an equipment malfunction, we'll resort to using hand signals to communicate back and forth between the rider and the instructor. The four hand signals are as follows. If you want to go higher, you're going to give a nice pump and thumbs up like this. However, it's at the discretion of the instructor if they actually will send you higher or not. What we first want to see is that you can demonstrate your balance at lower heights before we decide to send you higher up in the air. If at any point in time in your flight you're uncomfortable with the height that you're at, just give us a pumping thumbs down motion. The instructor will gradually reduce your altitude that you're flying at until you reach a height that you're comfortable with, or if you want to be lowered into the water, you just keep giving us a thumbs down and we'll gradually put you in the water. The third hand signal that we're going to use is the OK sign. Now this is used at any point in time to just let us know that everything is going perfectly fine. We might use it back and forth. I might say to you, are you okay? And you might say, yes, I'm okay. Or you might say, I want to go higher, or I want to go lower. The last and probably most important hand signal is the emergency stop signal. Now this is signaled to the instructor by drawing a line across your throat like this. And what's going to happen is the instructor is going to immediately stop all power to the board. If you are mid-flight, this will result in you falling straight out of the air and into the water, so it should only be reserved for dire emergencies. Now that we've discussed communication, we're going to talk a little bit about water hazards. Now, hazards in the water are going to be different depending on what area that you're flying in. Each area that you fly at will have different hazards that the instructor will go over with you in person prior to your flight. Some of these hazards include other boats, docks, rock piles, piers, buoys, swimmers, any floating debris that may or may not be there. Now, your instructor will point out any landmarks that we are aware about, but you as a rider also need to be aware while you're flying. If you notice any type of hazard at all, what you need to do is just inform your instructor via a communications device, or just ask to be lowered down in the water and we can stop the flight and we can assess the hazard and make sure that it's removed. All right, guys, now we have to strap up before we can move on to any more safety instruction and show you how to control the board. The next step is to get inside the boots. The boots on the board are standard wakeboard boots, and an instructor will be there to help you properly get situated in them.
All right, guys, so the first thing we're gonna do is ensure that both feet are inside the boot and they're firmly against the base plate all the way at the bottom like a standard snowboard boot or wakeboard boot. Now that both feet are firmly placed at the bottom of both boots, we're gonna go ahead and tighten them up nice and tight.
Now that you're in the boots, we're gonna go over some additional safety instructions. You're going to want to make sure that the instructor strapped the boots down nice and tight and that your foot is comfortable and firmly placed against the back of the boot. If at any point in time during your flight your boots feel like they become a little bit loose, just notify your instructor. The instructor will stop the flight, turn off the jet ski, get in the water, tighten your boots back down for you and make sure they're nice and tight before we restart the flight. Now that we're all strapped up, we're going to talk about our two forms of transportation. That's taxiing and flying. First, we're going to talk about taxiing. That's our swimming phase. Flying is obviously where we gain flight. Taxiing straight is fairly straightforward. What you want to do is you want to lay flat on your stomach, lay legs straight out behind you, kind of like Superman, and you want to keep your knees locked. With your knees in a locked position, it's going to keep both of your feet behind you, and that's going to allow you to taxi in a straightforward motion. Once you've taxied out into a safe flying position, you're going to want to start turning. Now when you do this, you want to orbit the jet ski, kind of like the way the moon would orbit the Earth. Now we're going to talk about how to turn when taxiing. In order to turn, what you're going to do is you're going to keep one leg extended straight, and you're going to bend the knee of the opposite leg of the direction that you want to turn. For instance, if I wanted to turn to my left, I would keep my left leg straight and I would bend my right leg, like so. Conversely, if I wanted to go right, I would keep my right leg straight and bend my left, like so. Before we get you airborne, we need you to demonstrate that you are able to taxi and turn in every single direction before we can start your flight. Now comes the fun part, we're gonna start flying. The first thing you're gonna try to do is stand up straight in the water, legs straight, feet flat. Once you're straight up and down in the water, you wanna keep your knees locked and you wanna stand straight like a pencil. When the board starts pushing against your feet, your body's natural reaction is gonna be to bend your knees, but you don't wanna do that. You wanna stand straight up because if you bend your knees, you're only gonna absorb the pressure in the water. What you want is you wanna gain flight. So you wanna keep your knees locked, straight like a pencil, and the thrust will push you up and out of the water. At this point, we're gonna start to give you some throttle. You're gonna feel the power beneath your feet, and in a few moments, you're gonna be airborne. Hey, now we're airborne. Now what you wanna do is you wanna try and maintain that balance by keeping your feet either flat or slightly tilted forward. In this position, when you keep your feet flat, you're gonna start to gain altitude. If you start to tilt your toes forward a little bit, you're gonna move forward and you're gonna start to lose some altitude. For the next few minutes, this is gonna be home for us. Once you demonstrate that you're safely flying well, we'll gradually be able to give you more thrust, which will then increase your altitude and or make you fly a little bit faster. Once we're flying, we now need to remember any water hazards that are in the area. In addition to these, we also need to be mindful of where the ski is. We never want to fly directly at the ski or towards the ski. And if we do, the instructor is going to reduce the throttle until we can safely move away, or if you can't, we're going to lower you down into the water so we can reposition and fly again. By this point, you've probably encountered a fall or two. When you do, the instructor is going to cut all the throttle, you're going to roll back over onto your stomach, and then try to stand back up again. Once you're in the air, you want to continuously be in a circular motion around the ski. Now, if you go straight out in front of the ski, you're going to extend the hose all the way out from the ski. This is what we call dog leashing. It's exactly like what would happen is if a dog was running away from a leash and it all of a sudden got yanked all the way forward. You're gonna feel a nice sharp pullback on the board, which is inevitably going to make you fall into the water. While you're flying, you wanna try to maintain a nice circular motion around the ski, which will keep a fair amount of slack in the hose. Congratulations, you've probably just flown for the first time. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna lower you back down into the water and we're gonna go in that taxi position back to our home base. Remember to be mindful for any water hazards that might be in the area. From all of us here at HydroFlyNE New England, thanks for flying with us. We hope you had a great time and we hope you come fly again soon.